Very good afternoon, guys. Sorry to make you wait. I'm just sharing in other platforms, Insta and other social media, so that uh, everyone would come to know. Because maybe many of us would turn off the notifications because we tend to get a lot of notifications. But please do click the bell icon for get notifications daily, except the Thursdays and Sundays. Daily you will be getting 3 notifications from this channel, Super 6 Education. So that one type of videos will be outline, just quick outline, and then brief summary of the session, brief summary of the lesson, and the third one is deep discussion of each topic. Okay. So all these 3 would talk about one lesson, and you should be remembering one thing, that the contents what I'm discussing would not be repetitive. Okay, so repetitive content will not be there, but concepts will be the same. But the approach, when we talk about outline, a different approach. When we talk about brief discussion on entire lesson, there is a different approach. When I talk about each and individual, then that's a different approach. So all these 3 would be a different videos with different approach. Content also will be different. Okay, in deep discussion I'll be including NEET textbooks as well as NCERT textbook. In brief, now this session would be mostly based upon the NCERT textbook, and outline session is based upon the just outlines of the different sources I have. So a quick outline will be there. So the content is varying, but the concepts remains the same. I hope you will be enjoying this brief discussion on the evolution, which is a very important weightage chapter. Though this chapter looks very easy with not much complicated what do you say, number of concepts, but whatever the concepts they gave itself would be a confusing if you don't really put your thought and mind and heart while you're reading. Okay, so let's approach this lesson. Right, let's start with the evolution basic steps that we talk about evolution. And the morning session I talked about a quick outline on this lesson, and that video also I will try to share. I have a link of it. I will share that link as well at the end of the session. So let's start with a brief discussion on this evolution chapter. Okay. Yeah. So when we talk about evolution, right? Yeah, 1 minute. Just a moment. So hope my voice and everything is clear, right? Yeah, okay then. So when we talk about the approach of this lesson, especially evolution, we talk about yeah. First, good afternoon all, everyone who came to the live. Good afternoon. Okay. So we will be studying this evolution under this evolutionary biology. When it comes to evolutionary biology, is the language for that matter, right? So how far we came this, we can't say it is an advanced species, but when it comes to this evolution, it's a gradual process, right? So when we talk about this evolution, we'll talk about evolutionary biology, especially it's a study where we talk about the history of the life forms. Okay, so it's something we talk about history. So where exactly some organism origin, and in what period that it got dominated, in which periods and which conditions led to their extinction. right? So in evolutionary concept, I used to tell even in class, right? Suddenly there is a population shrink due to some calamities, or for example, COVID-19 is a health crisis. I told many times that assume that there is some aspect. Sorry. So assume that we have a certain disease or disease outbreak or some sort of natural calamity which entered into the Gobi population and it wiped out, or maybe India or somehow like that. It is wiping out. Then how far we can say that whether we are able to fight that change or condition. For example, dinosaurs or there is a natural uh, you know at one several at certain conditions on that point of time, right? So they are unable to cope up with the changes in the environment, and they got extinct. But the small creatures at that period, they are able to survive. Like that, when we see certain, when we talk about population shrink, one of the genetic drift or population shrink, then we will get to understand how these organisms would really adapt in situations, or if they are not adapted, how they're getting extinct. So likewise, this evolutionary biology or evolution talks about the life history, or the history of life forms on the earth. So what exactly we understand by the term evolution is nothing but changes, isn't it? So changes from one point of time to other point of time, accumulation of characters, loss of characters, mutations, right? So these are all things, right? Over million years on the earth makes each and every organism unique, isn't it? We are humans are very unique when compared to other organisms, and other organisms are very unique compared to us. So how this uniqueness is created, how this variation is created, how these life forms were created, right? Starting from the creation of universe to till now, right? The COVID, mutation, right? Everything is being evolved, right, over a period of time, right? So that's what actually we talk about the evolutionary aspect, or evolutionary biology talks about, right? So when we talk about this evolution, though, we start our discussion with the origin of life. So how exactly the origin of life taking place, and how exactly this you know there are what are the theories does this prove that explains this origin of universe, etc., will be discussed. So there, that's the point where we start our discussion in this lesson. So that's the starting point. The starting point is always the Big Bang theory. So right from the Big Bang theory to till now, the present scenario, right? So there is a gradual evolution of life forms. So the right from the Big Bang, in the sense, like Big Bang is where the universe originated, right? So with a small, with a what do you say, with a huge singular huge explosion, this entire universe has created. That's what I really perceive human race, or for that matter any life on the earth, is that we are part of the universe. So that's why I don't really see any differences, or any walls, or any sort of boundaries, in the sense like, okay, this is India, this is this is Pakistan, this is China, or this is America. So that borders I never used to see. As an collective consciousness, I see as an humanity. Likewise, if you see that, that's an something philosophical perspective. But when it comes to science, when we talk about evolutionary perspective, this is how origin of took place. And once the origin of universe has took place, then the planetary systems and galaxies, planetary systems, and especially the Earth, and Earth also formed over 4.5 billion years ago. So that starts our first life one. The Earth is what actually makes life possible, the conditions, but initially the earth is not that conducive environment for for the life, right? So the origin of life is considered a unique event. It's a very unique event in the history of the universe. If that one organism, right, if that one cell is haven't origin or haven't formed, there is no classes right now. You would have enjoyed it, of course. There is no COVID-19 or there is no classes. There is no need. There is no nothing, right? So that's what the funny part. In the sense, like this is a special event and important and unique event that anyone can address in the origin of the history of the universe. Right? When you talk about the history of the universe, life is an unique event or unique event that occurred in the history of the universe, right? So within this clusters of galaxies and then planets, different planets, like we have got this, Earth as a conducive environment created after few, almost few million years, right? The Earth is then almost 4.5 billion years ago the Earth formed, and then the life formed, right? And then the life has slowly origined or slowly forming because the conditions of the Earth were changing. So they used to keep changing. It means the conditions on the Earth kept changing. Right. So almost 3 billion years back. Right. If you see, the conditions have been changed on the Earth, and then the first, non-cellular forms like organic, inorganic molecules and other, first cells have been formed. So, so that's how the life origin. So when we talk about the origin of the life, we talk about the conditions, conditions, primitive conditions in the on the Earth, or the primitive conditions of the Earth. Are you able to follow, guys? Are you able to follow? Yeah. Saran Raghav, yeah. Hi. Yeah, you're able to follow. Fine. That's great. So especially these videos are very useful for present world standard batch and outgoing batch also. So please make use of it and please share to your friends so that they join the live. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's speak about the next aspect, that is the primitive Earth conditions. Right. If you see the Earth Earth conditions, right? We have different theories which suggests how the life has origin, but before that we can really understand Earth conditions, right? So for example, you may find around uh, the Earth used to be like a heat ball, right, with a lot of huge temperatures, right, which is not uh, nearly impossible to for the nearly impossible environment for the sustaining or for any living matter, right? So it is not that much conducive environment for any living organism. Later on, what happened was like the Earth was cooling down, right, and then water vapor formed, and then that water vapor eventually formed as rain for almost many years, right? So that actually almost what do you say, almost many years it was rain, and then it filled all the depressions of the oceans. So once this was happened, then only this entire origin of the first cell and then second cell and then life forms has been started in the oceans. So oceans, being an what do you say, it's like a life. primordia. So that actually become the primordia of the life. Means the origin or the formation of first cells and the life has origin in the oceans back in time. So according to NCERT, they have already mentioned that the life appeared 500 million years after the formation of Earth. So it's not immediately after the formation of Earth. It took a lot of time to actually get that certain conditions which actually make life possible on the Earth. Then only the life origin. So this is the pretty much introduction about how the life might have been started with the primitive conditions of the Earth. For example, no, there was no atmosphere on the Earth at that point of time. Now we have an atmosphere and gas filled with gases, different mixture of gases in which we have oxygen and we are able to utilize it, right? So, but at the primitive Earth condition, there was no atmosphere, right? And then later it would be Earth cooling down, and then it formed ozone layer, and finally you have got this sort of atmosphere on the Earth. So that the temperature is an important aspect that actually cooling down, then the Earth supported the life. So it's not just immediately that life has supported the supported by Earth. So this is one of the aspects that you need to remember, that when we talk about this history of the universe, and the unique event is origin of life, and the primitive conditions of the Earth also very much important. And then we talk about the theories of life, right? Origin of life theories. So we have got when we talk about we have got ancient theories of origin of life also. So there were ancient theories that when the science has not that developed, right? And then the science is eventually developed, and the scientists disproved the previous ideas of the origin of life. So for per se, just take this spontaneous generation theory or abiogenesis theory. People used to think that the life origin from inanimate or the non-living objects or dead and decaying or tissues, spontaneously, right? If you leave a piece of meat here, and then you come the next day, you find the life. So they took it as that tissue is actually giving origin or birth to the new life. But now we know, even 6th or 7th standard students know that when something has to origin, it should be origin from its ancestor or a pre-existing life, right? So that's the clarity now we have. But initially people doesn't know about all these theories, but the science starts with a crude idea, and then now it would be refined. So the ancient theory suggests that we have a theory of special creation, that God created God's creation. Even Steve, one of the projects, our friends projects, our student friend project is Steve's origin of these theories and origin of life. So he explained it very beautifully in his project also. So when we talk about theory of special creation, and when it comes to theory of spontaneous generation theory, biogenesis theory, cosmic theory, right? So these are all these are all the different theories that we actually put forth. And when we talk about this, if we pick one of the theories, that spontaneous generation theory was disproved by Louis Pasteur with series of experiments with swan neck flask experiments. So he proved that there is no vitality in the air, or if the air, if it can disinfect them, or if we can really, what do you say, if you can sterilize the air, or if you sterilize the air or the medium which we provide, the life will not be origin from it. So in that way, the spontaneous generation theory was outruled by the Louis Pasteur. But the Louis Pasteur accounted for making everyone understand that life is not origin from inanimate or dead and decaying matter, but life has origin from already existing living matter. But he didn't explain about how the first life form would have been origin. No clue about it. So that's what this biogenesis states that, especially the Louis Pasteur, Francisco Reyes, Palangini, all these guys actually really look into this biogenesis and they supported Louis Pasteur's work. And there is one more ancient theory we have got, that is theory of panspermia. Panspermia suggests, or cosmogenic theory suggests, that we have got spores from the outer planets and all spread on the planet Earth, and suddenly they sprout to become a life, right? So that is one of the theory which many members even they still do believe in this kind of a theory, right? So that is one of the theory. And then coming to the what do you say, the next advanced theory, right? So when we talk about other theories, like we have got even we have got advanced theories like this chemical evolution is right now the theory which were put forth, that is proposed by O'Brien and Haldane, right? It states that the first form of life was originated from non-living inorganic and organic molecules. So that's what even in the previous video I explained, that the term abiogenesis is first, but biogenesis ever since. So right, only in entire universe, in the history of the life, formation of the life, origin of life, only once the abiogenesis occurred. But from the second cell, everything is biogenesis. So that is very tricky thing to understand, and no one really take this sense, or no one has this kind of a perspective. So now you guys knew that how the life might have origin, how the second cell might have origin, how the first cell, that is a primitive cell, that we are all back in time connected to that ancestral cell. So that is how the first cell origin, and that was explained by this theory of chemical evolution, where it states that the first cell would have been origin right from the organic, inorganic or non-living inorganic and organic molecules like methane. Okay, so far we have just covered the 1/4 of the chapter, that is theories which are extremely important for academics as well as for your NEET exams or any other competitive exam. Theories, and the one who proposed and what listening to this video or watching this video, please make note of it. You have to make a tabular form and you can make use of this. Okay, and then coming to the Urey-Miller experiment, and this is a spark chamber experiment where we use tungsten electrodes to create the thunderstorm, that lightning effect that had been there in primitive Earth, right? The primitive Earth conditions for stormy thunderstorms used to be there, and they used to be, and even this the UV light used to split these molecules, and formation of molecules used to be there. So we will provide even inorganic molecules like ammonia, methane, and water and H2, so that these inorganic molecules would eventually form the organic molecules. So we will be creating certain temperature conditions like 800 degrees centigrade. So as a result, we observe at the end of the experiment, we can observe that organic molecules like pigments, amino acids, sugars, nucleic acids like RNA molecules, polypeptides are formed during this process. That's how we can really simulate, or we can really understand that the primitive conditions may lead to formation of organic molecules, complex, and once they escape, or once they've entered into a cell-like structure which has a lipid molecule layer, so then it formed the first cell. So when we talk about this this aspect, right, we have got when we talk about this chemical evolution, it has got some steps. Okay, so in this chemical evolution, there were a few steps are involved, that is formation of simple molecules with the first step, right? I'm talking about the chemical evolution and their steps involved in it. In NCERT, they didn't cover that much. So when we talk about the chemical evolution, the steps involved involved in this are formation of simple molecules, and then formation of simple organic molecules, and then formation of complex organic molecules, and the formation of nucleic acids and nucleoproteins. So once the chemical evolution took place, then comes the organic evolution. So in this organic evolution, what happens is formation of coservates. Coservates are nothing but the cell-like structures, right? And then the next step would be formation of primitive cells. So these coservates would actually take up this, complex organic molecules such as this nucleic acids and nucleoproteins. They go inside this coservates, right? The sort of very primitive type of cells without any sort of molecules in it. Once they absorb these cells, once they absorb these organic molecules or nucleic acid, they become the primitive cell. So once they become the primitive cells, what happens is they replicate, right? So once they do replicate, what happened was like now they formed as a prokaryotes. So I already explained in morning session that there is an origin of autotrophism or autotrophic cells. It means they are able to synthesize their own food material. These are the protein or these are the nucleoproteins which turn to be expressing gene expression, or they become a cell organelles, right? So these are all becoming prokaryotes. At the same time, few prokaryotes are able to produce their own food materials by this primitive sort of which can really trap the sunlight and etc., which can utilize the CO2. It means if you see that the CO2 is also utilized during this formation of life and then eventually led to fill the atmosphere with more of oxygen. So likewise, this autotrophism is developed, right? If you see there's the nutrition also being evolved. So until or unless we got this nutrition evolution, you have got only autotrophism and then sort of these simple prokaryotic systems. Later on, we have to talk about the origin of eukaryotes. So once these prokaryotic cells are existing in the grand soup of oceans, and then this life has been origin in a different conditions. Then these prokaryotes come in contact and they fuse among themselves. One cell entered into other cell and they coexisted and they divided, replicated, divided, and then they formed this eukaryote. So this eukaryotic system is something we formed from one of the theory we call this all these things I very much very clearly explained in one of the videos of 11th standard principles of biology, unifying principles of biology. I explained for your juniors. So if you you can find it in BVS Live 2020 playlist. You can find it in that biology, unifying principles of the biology. Okay, it means biology basics. So I will share that link as well. So please go through that once. So if you say this unifying principles of biology or the basics of biology, I have very clearly mentioned about what is this endosymbiotic theory. Okay, so this is basics. Basics of biology is the heading of the video. So in that you can find out these theories. I mean, what are the basics? How this life, especially endosymbiotic theory and other unifying principles of biology. This is very useful. Okay, this is basics of biology, and the other one is playlist for ecology, mnemonics, and outline also we can go through. So whoever already present here morning session, it would be repeating. Okay, fine. Especially the links would be repeating. Content is different. Okay, let's move on. So what we're talking about is the origin of this, eukaryotic cell. So that is very much, no one really talked, or no one has an idea how this eukaryotic cell has been origin. And these are the steps actually involved in chemical evolution and organic evolution. Almost 8 steps, right from formation of simple molecules to the formation of eukaryotic cells. Once these cells are formed, then the life has origin. It means different life forms, as simple as it. Okay, so these are what do you say, theories, origin of the life. Now let's come to the next part of the lesson, that is evidences for evolution. So in NCERT they covered very less number of evidences for evolution. They strictly they focused more on the homologous and analogous structure, convergent and divergent evolution. So they didn't much talk about the other evidences like embryological evidences, but the updated version of the NCERT textbook would contain this. Supplementary material may contain this evidences for evolution, that is embryological evidences. So molecular biology evidences were not that much covered in your NCERT, right? So when we talk about the evidences for evolution, we have paleontological evidences and we have comparative anatomy, right? Based upon the anatomical structures, based upon structure, origin, and function, we can really get the evidences for evolution. So it's not just an idea we can just put forth. We need some sort of evidences to really speak about or to prove that yes, the evolution is took place and will take forever, right? So for that we need evidences. So that evidences, from classifications we can get, like if you see the classifications, like plant kingdom, we have a different sort of families, orders, classes, kingdoms, right? Phyla, etc. But based upon those, or dendrograms, or based upon the classification of organisms and life forms, also we can really get the evidences, because they are all classifications or extensive study of this organism. If you see the animal kingdom, right? So if you see the animal kingdom, it's somewhere it starts with the lower organisms to ends with the mammals with very high end sort of what do you say, humans, right? So likewise, there is a gradation, there is a change in every organism. So this evolutionary perspective we can use this plant kingdom, animal kingdom, sort of mundra, all different classifications that we have it for animals and plants, that can be used as an evidence. And then we have a comparative anatomy, and then comes to physiology. So we can we can get the physiological and chemical properties that would be shown in different organisms, maybe how much they are related, right? For example, if you take any physiological aspect, they will be having some basic similarities in their physiological or chemical properties. So with our ancestors only, we'll be producing certain types of enzymes in our body, right? In our in our digestive tract, but you may not find that in other organisms. So that in that also we can really trace out our ancestors, and we can really understand, or we can link this evolutionary perspective. It means we can get an evidence that yeah, we are back in time connected to that organism. Like that, physiology and physiology evidences of physiology, which are not covered in your NCERT. And then evidences from serology, it means the reactions of blood serum also can be observed, right? For example, hemoglobin, right? So these structures, how far they differ in the vertebrates, right? We can really how far they are identical from man to monkey. So, all right, or else how less identical within the mammal. So that's how we can really compare and contrast. We can relate to. Next one is embryological evidences. So I already explained in morning session that the evidences for or embryological evidences, or like with the exception of few. For example, every multicellular animal, right, they originate from a zygote. So now I'm sitting with these trillions of cells covered with a cloth, right? So a bunch of molecules are actually talking, a bunch of cells are talking with the bunch of the cells. And really, if we think in that sort, right, we all origin in back in time, we are origin from a single cell diploid, zygote, right? That zygote developed into embryo, and that embryo would show similarities at one stage with one animal to the other animal across the vertebrate classification, vertebral classification, right? So that's how we can relate with this embryological evidences and then paleontology, for example, study of fossils. So when we talk about the fossils, we have got different, fossils. We have got living fossils, right? So we have got coelacanth fish, right? Latimeria. So these are all living fossils which we can really connect with the extinct species with the present species, right? So likewise, we can get fossil study, and then even we can use this evidences from geographical distribution. So how the geography would really connect it to the evidences for the evolution is also we can trace out, like how these organisms are distributed based upon the geography, right? And how their vegetation is different, how vegetation is same in two identical places, like that. So how does this climate, within maybe with the same climate, how come we have a separate vegetation on the particular piece of land, that we can get it. And coming to the evidences from genetics. So genetics also we can from the genetics also we can actually get the evidences. For example, uh, if you see the Mendel laws, right? Mendel laws. He studied, traits and characteristics, right? So that's how we can observe the ratios, right? With the well-defined characters. If we study the well-defined characters, we can observe the ratios also. So in that way, also we can connect this evolutionary perspective. And even we have got connecting links. The other aspect is within this. What is a separate so when we talk about connecting links, there are other few organisms which actually connects with one organism with other organism actually. So connecting links are intermediate forms between two group of organisms. You take one group and this group would be very dissimilar. So during this evolutionary process in time, there would be some certain loss of one of the connecting link, right? So this connecting link, right? For example, take viruses. So viruses are connecting link between non-living to living. So they are obligatory. Sometimes they are non-living, sometimes they are living, right? For example, euglena, it's a protozoan member. So you would have studied this classification of microbes, right? So you have Monera, you have Pipingham's classification, Monera, Protista, fungi, algae, and fungi and plantae, animalia. So you have got protozoans. Euglena is a connecting link between plants and animals. So they display both the characteristics, but when we see as alone, it would appear to be a different organism. But that these are the missing links or connecting links. So these are all evidences for evolution, and then we'll talk about the next aspect, that is theories of organic evolution. When we talk about theories of organic evolution, we have got Lamarckism. We have got at the same time Darwinism. We have. Okay. So are you able to follow, guys? Are you able to follow? Ilamati. Okay. Obviously. Okay. Okay, guys. Fine. Let's move on. So when we talk about the next aspect, in this academics or NEET or any sort of exam, you need to remember the examples of these evidences, especially when we talk about anatomical evidences, homologous organs and analogous organs. The mnemonics I already given in the link, so you can go through that video and you can make use of that mnemonics, right? It's very easy to remember. So homologous, analogous, divergent, convergent, and similarities, dissimilarities based upon structure, origin, and function. Everything, the sort of mnemonics were already given in the other video. So in the more detailed manner, I will be discussing when I take this evolution lesson in a detailed manner. So as of now, let's move to the next topic. So when we talk about this organic evolution, what do you say? Theories of organic evolution. We have got Lamarckism, and if you see this Lamarckism is it's a study by this Lamarck, who was one of the most brilliant brilliant guys who actually worked in this history of the evolution. So he has got certain ideas, and he theorized few things, and he's a naturalist, right? And he published different works as well, right? In his theory, in his evolutionary theory, right? If you see this evolutionary theory that was proposed by Lamarck, right? Or Lamarckism. If you see there are a few points we can understand. For example, Lamarckism talks about the internal forces. They talk about necessity in the animals, whether use or disuse, right? Or else inheritance by acquired characteristics, right? So at that point of time, they are not much aware of the genes, characters, factors, and how they would be transferred from one generation to other generation, etc. So that's how the Lamarckism was, eliminated later part. When the Darwinism come up with his theories, where Darwin has a very slight, a very different approach when it comes to the idea of organic evolution. So his main ideas, if you consider, I will detailedly discuss about these all ideas in the detailed chapter discussion in the next type of videos, 7 to 8 p.m. I will shortly release on this chapter as well. So his main ideas includes, struggle for existence, competition, environment, at the same time survival of the fittest. So these are the components which natural selection, especially the natural selection. So if you see this, there was a Darwinism and then Neo-Darwinism. We will be discussing about that as well. So the genes are responsible for the inheritance, and then comes the next advanced theory, that is mutational theory, that was given by Eukaryotes, right? So if you compare and contrast these theories only, you will really get the essence of this lesson. So you got Lamarckism with certain ideas of the evolution. You got Darwinism with certain ideas of the evolution. You have got mutational theory, more advanced type of, who Eukaryotes come up with this mutational theory. So if you really make a tabular form with all these things, and if you can really get the essence, then you will be, evolution will be the best chapter that you can really spend time on reading. So when we talk about origin of variations, so these three theories suggest the variation in different ways. For example, if you take Lamarckism variations tell the Lamarck believe, or his idea of variation is that variations appear in organism in response to change in environment. That's how the Lamarckism put forth. So environment, according to the environment, if you take the giraffe long neck, so according to the environment, it is internal aspects are changing. And what Darwin told, variation appear automatically. And what actually mutational theory says, variation appears due to change in genetic makeup. See how variation we have variation among these three theories would really make us better understand about the evolution in more in depth. So that's my point to really make this brief video session. So let's move to the next aspect when it comes to what is a industrial mannerism is one of the evidences for evolution, and I'll surely discuss this in full length video. I can take one part on half an hour part of or one part of video on industrial mannerism. It's a very good experiment that we can really understand how natural selection works. Is it a directional type of natural selection, or disruptive type of natural selection, or stabilizing type of natural selection? We will try to understand later part in later videos. So now coming to the theories of when it comes to the next aspect is that Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. When we talk about Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, it's an algebraic expression P plus Q whole square P square plus Q square plus 2PQ. So you'll be studying the gene frequencies and the within the gene pool, how these traits or alleles are actually changing, or how these ratios are affected, and how this equilibrium shift can lead to an evolution of, if the given population is satisfying Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. If any population is there in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, said to be, they are not evolving, non-evolving population, and if it is disturbed, or if it is not following, then it is said to be evolving population. So what are the factors we need to consider? The 5 fingers of evolution, that is analogy was given by Paul Anderson, and then when we talk about this 5 fingers of evolution, or the 5 factors which affect the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, especially the gene migration and genetic drift, mutations, right? Genetic recombination, right? Reshuffling of gene combination during crossing over. Where does it occur? During the recombination, meiosis, etc. Genetic variation is created, and then natural selection. So within the natural selection, we have got 3 types of natural selection: stabilization, directional, and disruptive, right? So if you take, I used to take this example that when we take goby population, right here, goby population, we have a very short person and very tall person, but there is a mean average height also, maybe a 5.9 would be an average. So if medium-sized individuals are favored, then it would attain a stabilizing type of. It means these are extreme characters. This is median value. So too short, too tall, and the median trait, right? So very light and too dark, and there is a medium color. So likewise, when nature actually selects an individual based upon this extreme characteristics or median characteristics, or from one characteristic to one extreme, that makes it 3 different types of selection. If it is median value selected, stabilizing. If there is a shift from the median values slightly, it is said to be directional. And if it is not selecting any median character, but it is selecting 2 extreme character, it is a disruptive mode of natural selection. Okay, we will deal with the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium question and answers, different type of questions, examples and sums, numericals in this concept in detailed discussion of this lesson, right? That is 7 to 8 p.m. videos. And then comes to the brief account of evolution. That is here it's very important to know different eras, right? We have got Protozoic, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and then we have got Cenozoic eras. And within that we have got different epochs. We have different we have got periods in it, so to which so we have got different periods within these eras as well. So now we belong to this Cenozoic era, right, in which it has got 2 periods. One is tertiary and one is quaternary. So this periods also important. Within this period, which species got getting dominated, which are not that dominated. Now what is now the age of mammals and angiosperms? We have got when we talk about plant kingdom, you will be understanding, right from the lower plants to the higher plants, flowering plants. You have got classification, right? You got unicellular autotrophs, and then we have got ferns and organism classification, pteridophyta, and we have got gymnosperms and then angiosperms. So now the dominant plant species or that family is actually so dominant when it comes to mammals in animal kingdom. Right, so this Cenozoic era is you need to give more focus because we belong to this Cenozoic era, and when it comes to dinosaurs and extinct species, right, we have to focus on Mesozoic era, right? So within this Mesozoic era, we have three different periods: Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods, right? So within these periods, we have got dinosaurs, which are land reptiles, right? So how they actually dominated that point of time, how they emerged, and then how they actually extinct also. It's very important when it comes to this brief account of evolution. And to remember this brief account of evolution, I will try to make a video on mnemonics to remember this eras and periods, epochs, etc. And eons, right? I gave one example, right? Eon. There is a movie theater called Zeon, Zeon. So you have got Eon. Eon is something which is you can't really get a perspective of how lengthy that period is. But Zeon is something very recently established. That's what I gave a mnemonic in the class. So Eon, Zeon. So Eon, which has a very huge time scale, which you can't really measure. So like that, I will try to give few mnemonics on this as well. And then comes to Cenozoic era, where exactly how many million years ago that man-like primates origin, and then when exactly this Homo sapiens origin, right? When it comes to origin and evolution of man, so there was a mnemonic also given in that evolution chapter you will be finding. So right from Dryinpithecus, Ramanpithecus, like man-like and ape-like, right, beings. You see that each and every type of human we have got different, names, different characteristics. For example, Homo erectus others called as Java man, and they have got large brain, and they eat meat. They ate meat actually. So you see that they actually, what are their eating habits, what are their brain capacities. First human-like being hominid, nothing but Homo habilis. Then right from that we have started calculating about the brain capacities, right, cranial capacities, right? So right now when we talk about human history, we talk about the two important major events that modern humans mostly talk about: the agriculture. Agriculture is as new as just 10,000 years back we started this agricultural sector. So that's what agriculture, when the agriculture started, right, until or unless we used to move from one place to other place, right? So there is no really a geographical separation, right? But once the agriculture started, settlement started. So they used to settle at one place, and then they used to start having their boundaries, right? And then even this, because of the settling type of habits, right? Agricultural development and then exchange, then the transmission of diseases also kept on increasing, right? So that's how the contagious thing also started with this type of settling activity. But yeah, that's how human evolved, right? So we can't stop, we can't go back in time and we can't fix that, right? So it means that the nature actually heals itself, right? As a human, part of nature and part of universe, we can't really fix everything. Nothing, not everything is in our hands. We can't fix many things, right? What's happening in the nature, because we are being part of nature. Many people say that, okay, let's fix the earth smiling day, or earth's day, right? Sometimes they celebrate nature is healing, especially this COVID crisis. Few wing of people saying that the COVID virus is really great than human. I don't see in that perspective. COVID is as different or as unique as humans, as simple as that. So don't mix up all these ideas and come up with your own stories, but understand the process of evolution. These are the guys who doesn't really understand the process of evolution, survival of how adaptation really makes these humans fit for their environment, right? So how this development and all these things would go hand in hand. When there is a development, there would be accidents. So, for example, now we have got Vizag crisis, right? For example, Vizag gas release. There are few people died actually. It's a very sad news actually within this 2020 COVID crisis. This is one more saddened news that recently happened to that Vizag, one of the plant, chemical plant that they release, accidentally release of these gases, which people are dead. Almost 11 people were dead, and remaining people were hospitalized. So when it comes to in environmental issues also, I spoke about this, right? When we seek development, and when obviously environment would get affected, but that's how you guys, you are the right, or we are the future of the this earth, that we can really put something which is more eco-friendly, as simple as it. We can't shut everything and we can't sit in home, right? So that's my approach. So, and this is it for today, guys, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and it would be useful for your friends, whoever, whatever board it is. The concepts are the same, approach is different, but the concept remains the same. So please do share, and please do like before you leave the session, and if you have any feedback you can leave it. So please access that link for going for mnemonics, and thank you for joining in the live session. Thank you individually, and whoever watching and but not commented also, that's okay. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys. Stay home, stay safe. So this is the end of the evolution chapter. It's a brief discussion. So based upon detailed discussion, I will be uploading very soon. Thank you. Any doubts, guys?